after I was diagnosed with cancer in 1944, or 94, the second time, that was 25 years after I first was diagnosed with cancer, I just had this feeling come over me, and the St. Paul office used to be in the basement of a bank building on Como Avenue, and I went and knocked on the door. And I actually stood in front of that door and said, what the hell do I have to offer this organization? And then they asked me to get involved with Cancer Mount, and they told me that I had to go through Look Good, Feel Better classes. And I says, I've been dealing with cancer for 25 years. I don't need that. They said, if you want to be a Cancer Mount volunteer, you have to go. So I went, and all I could think of after I went through that, where was that course in 1969 when I was 34 years old and I had 4 young children and a wife with that kind of support? Cancer Mount was just powerful. And then I moved on from there, and then somebody said to me, Keith, would you look at this video? And it was a video of the 1985 Gordy Klatt Relay for Life. So I went ahead and looked at it, and I played it over and took notes. And then about 3 months later, I got the courage up to ask my wife if she thought we could do this in the White Bear Lake area. And Patty said, if we get the right volunteers. And I think all you have to do is look around here and say, my wife knows what she's talking about. Well, I believe the mission statement is so strong, and I believe, you know, from the research, what research does, but just as important as advocacy and education, and then the support. Our community has a support through Relay for Life that is second to none. I mean, somebody's diagnosed, and we get a phone call, and we can network them. And we even had a situation, one woman, I just heard it, she was 3 years and 5 months. And when she was diagnosed 3 years ago with breast cancer, like the 10th of January, my wife and I found out about it on the 14th of January, and we couldn't take a meal to that family with 5 kids until March 28th, because everybody had put everything together. And we were way down on the meal list. It wasn't that our food was bad, there was too many people ahead of us. So, well, I think number one, they certainly know that the 4 corners of the mission statement. And I, you know, continually work to get everybody to understand that cancer is 52 weeks out of the year, and the support, the 800 number, and the website, and all the things, cancer.org, is so strong. And we continually preach in this community about, we're not going to tell you what to do, but we're going to help you go where you can find the best available information so you can make an informed decision on what you're going to do next. I think it's important to, number one, find out the background of each campsite, where they're here, why they're here, who they're here for, how long they've been involved, and what their commitment is from this community standpoint. And I think you see everything from the fire department to the, you know, to the Lions Club, to the school district, the way they cooperate with us, to churches. We've got 10 or 12 churches that have teams in this way. And you know, my problem is, I say there's 37 churches. When are we going to get the other 27? So that's my brain power. And thank God, I think up here, and my wife was down at ground zero and was taking care of all the detail behind the scenes, building up this event all these years. So, well, I think information, available information, and reaction. When we have something, I can call ACS, whether it's your department or Carol Range, if there's a specific situation that I want to find out about something that's going on in her arena, or just recently I had a navigator go through some things with somebody that was diagnosed that I wanted to make sure they sat down with the right person at the ACS office. And
which may lead to my next question, but do you get a sense that people respect your time when you're working with us? And part of this, so you'll know.
Are you talking about volunteers or staff?
Yeah, for staff.
Both. I mean, they certainly understand the importance of volunteering, and they certainly respect the time and effort that we put into it, you know, and the miles that we've traveled. You know, I've been in Cloquet, and I've been in Worthington. I've been in Red Wing and Staples and Fergus Falls, and you know, Wahpeton Breckenridge with that bi-state relay up there in western Minnesota. So yeah, I can't even begin to count how many relays I've been to, but every time you walk away from one and then you take a lap and you develop a relationship, and then it just moves on from there, and those relationships stay with you. People call you and they got this problem or that, and that's why I like to, you can't walk We like to think at White Bear Lake area Relay for Life, you can't walk 20 yards with befriending a new person. Last week I was walking, or 3 weeks ago I was walking out of Scott County and met a girl who was 14-year survivor of cervical cancer, struck up a conversation. By the time we got through, I was into how did you ever get involved with Relay? She says, I'm on 2 teams, and I find out she's on the Walgreen team. And then here the woman from Walgreens in White Bear Lake is the person over community relationships for the whole metro area with Walgreens, and she knew each other, walking a track in Shakopee. So that's why I like to take a laugh with people. You never know what comes out in the conversations.
Sure.
I think it's very difficult to say what could be or should be done, because you can always be a Monday morning quarterback, but I think significantly it's just that communications, and not necessarily in this world of iPods and emails and everything else, but I happen to be somebody, and there's a lot of staff people, very few of the staff that don't pick up and write you a personal note and when they say thank you to you. The power of that is so great. And I've got a box at home this big and this deep of, I don't throw them away, because if I have a down day, I go grab that box. And then, of course, the other thing is, Lou, I didn't mention, after the first year when we only raised $7,000, and I said I would never do this again, then 8 weeks later, Lori was diagnosed with cancer when she was 31 years old, and with a 6-month-old daughter, and we made the decision that we had to continue, and we have. And Lori's dream is what we head for all the way around, and Lori's dream was, the last thing she said to me the day before she died, the last time she was coherent, she said, Dad, do you think there's any chance that Colleen, her little girl, who was 3 and a half at that time, could ever grow up and not have to go through what you and Mom are going through, losing a child to cancer? I promised her I'd spend the rest of my life helping people on a cancer journey and helping raise money to find answers to this disease. So, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I will be 6 feet under before I quit voluntarily and helping other people. And I mean, this family, I hope you sense the family that we have in this community. It's outstanding. So